कल एक ना वो एक एनवेलप पड़ा था यहाँ, वो ये मैं कल लेके चला गया था बाय मिस्टेक, यू रिमेंबर?
कब जो है ऑडियो थोड़ा मिस हो रहा है।
Is this?
डेटा के लिए है वो।
I think this is the Bluetooth. This connects this to these.
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा। पता क्या लगा?
I did.
हेडफोन है इसका?
This is mine.
तो इसको कनेक्ट करके जैसा सुनते रहो कि ऑडियो बराबर आ रहा है क्या?
It should just work. It should just work.
It is working, but now and then it is disturbing.
Yes? Okay, give it to Mohammed first. Actually, I got both of you. Yeah, so that's the party we'll have you sitting there.
Dear brothers and sisters, we're now going to begin the program. Let's go ahead and invite Allah's blessings, His rahmah, His mercy into this very hall by reciting a loud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
I'm going to now request our young tiny brother and youth to recite a few verses from the Holy Quran. And we have Muhammad, and we have Abbas. Muhammad, please start.
ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ما شاء الله. Well done, Muhammad. Abbas, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
We are now going to ask the speaker to become our audience today. Inshallah, he'll be reciting dua to us, but he also would like to give you a bit of background about this dua as well, inshallah. But I request you guys to come a little bit forward. It makes it easy for the brothers that are coming in towards the end. Sisters, please also situate yourself in a way where you can listen attentively, inshallah. So please welcome Sayyid Heydar Jamaludeen with Dua Tawassul, who's going to recite Dua Tawassul with a loud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
नारे तकबीर, अल्लाहु अकबर, नारे तकबीर, अल्लाहु अकबर, नारे रिसालत, या रसूल अल्लाह, नारे रिसालत, या रसूल अल्लाह, नारे हैदरी, या हैदरी, बर हबीबे खुदा खतमुल अंबिया बावाज़े बुलंद सलावत। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद।
يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك يا الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله يشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله يشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله يشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله يشفع لنا عند الله يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا مولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله يا محمد يا حسن أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله يا خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها أيها الشهيد بأرض كربلاء شانا يا حسين بن علي قد عظمت الرزية وجلت عظمة المصيبة أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا يا ذا الحسن يا علي بن الحسن يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا مولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند يا وجيها يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها يا وجيها يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا مولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا مولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي المستقيم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا مولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجاج أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا مولاي متى ترانا When shall I see you when you will see me? When can we see each other, Ya Mawlai? How many tears I have drawn from your eyes. You look at my deeds. You look at what I've done during the year, during the week, during my days. And tears flow from your eyes. You want nothing from anyone else. You want it from me. You want it from your Shia. But all I do is draw the tears from your eyes. All together, let's greet our Imam. Ya Wasi al-Hasan wal-Khalaf al-Hajjam أيها القائد المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا مولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. Ask Allah for your hajjat, inshallah.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Dear brothers and sisters, I just wanted to remind you to please help yourself. We have tea, we have chai, and feel free to pour some and sit back down and have sips throughout the program. It's the least we can do. You're not our guest, you're the guest of Imam, and we will carry on making sure that your comfortability is the highest priority, inshallah. We will now ask our brother Baruch to offer a few words of condolences. A eulogy, please. Welcome him with a loud salawat.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. मज़लूम करबला का लहू मज़लूम करबला का लहू काम कर गया डूबा हुआ नबी का सफीना भर गया मज़लूम करबला का लहू काम कर गया रोती है बेबसी अली असगर के लाश पर रोती है बेबसी अली असगर की लाश पर पानी न पाया तीर गले में उतर गया पानी न पाया तीर गले में उतर गया मज़लूम करबला का लहू काम कर गया क्या जाने क्यों फुरात की मौजों में शोर है क्या जाने क्यों फुरात की मौजों में शोर है शायद के तश्न लब कोई साहिल पे मर गया शायद के तश्न लब कोई साहिल पे मर गया शबीर क्या संभालते अकबर की लाश को शबीर क्या संभालते कर जिगर गया नौ के सीना के साथ लिपट कर जिगर गया बादे हुसैन लूट ली चादर बतूल की बादे हुसैन लूट ली चादर बतूल की हो के नंगे सर गया काफिला जिधर गया हो के नंगे
सर गया काफिला जिधर गया, हाय नबी की आल पर क्या क्या सितम हुए, हाय नबी की आल पर क्या क्या सितम हुए, रोकर सकीना शाम के जिंदा में मर गई, रोकर सकीना शाम के जिंदा में मर गई, माँ भी गरीब छोड़ती क्यों कर हुसैन को, माँ भी गरीब छोड़ती क्यों कर हुसैन को, ज़हरा की रूह साथ गई सर जिधर गया, ज़हरा की रूह साथ गई सर डूबा हुआ नबी का सफीना भर गया, और मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद दुरूद पर मोहम्मद वाले है सलाम उस पे जो कैदी भी है बीमार भी है सलाम उस पे जो कैदी भी है बीमार भी है, पाँव में आबले हैं आबलों में खार भी है, पाँव में आबले हैं आबलों में खार भी है सलाम उस पे जो कैदी भी है बीमार भी है। पूछा एक शख्स ने शबीर तेरा कौन है, पूछा एक शख्स ने शबीर तेरा कौन है, रोके फरमाने लगे बाबा भी है सरदार, रोके फरमाने लगे बाबा भी है सरदार भी है सलाम उस पे जो पहुंचे नजदीक जो लाशे के सकीना ने कहा, पहुंचे नजदीक जो लाशे के सकीना ने कहा, ये मेरे बाबा का भाई भी है अलमदार, ये मेरे बाबा का भाई भी है अलमदार भी है, पाँव में आबले हैं आबलों में खार, बलवा भी है, बाजार भी है, पाँव में आबले हैं, आबलों में खार भी है सलाम उस पे जो कैदी भी है, बीमार भी है।
All your reciters, inshallah. We have now come to the point where we're going to begin our speech. It is an honor for me to invite once again Sayyid Heydar Jamaludeen up to our pulpit, up to the front. Let's welcome him with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As our speaker situates himself, just a reminder, straight after the speech we'll have Muharrum, and of course the bathrooms, in case you needed to use the facilities, are in the entrance. One's for women, one's for men. Sisters, please be mindful that men do need to use the bathroom from time to time as well. So if you could stay clear of that area. And one last request for all our brothers and sisters to move up a little bit too forward, so that if anybody comes from the back, they'll be easily able to sit down, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، نحمده ونستعينه، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا، الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وسمي في الأرضين بأبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين المستشهدين المظلومين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين، إمامنا القائد عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ولعن الله أعداءهم أجمعين من حين عذابتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أما بعد، فقد قال الصادق عليه السلام: شيعتنا أهل الورع والاجتهاد وأهل الوفاء والأمانة. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all praise is due to Him. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whose praises cannot be enumerated. Even if all of the trees of the earth were to turn to pens and all of the seas were to turn to ink, the words of Allah would not be enumerated in that. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to once again be among the lovers of Abu Abdullah, and to come here and to mourn over Abu Abdullah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi has a saying in which he says, إن لقتل الحسين في قلوب المؤمنين حرارة لم تبرد أبدا. In the hearts of the believers there is a burning, there is a heat which will not go away ever for the martyrdom of Hussein alayhi salam. Yesterday we discussed about Izzah and what it means to be Aziz. I see new faces today, alhamdulillah, so it's good that more people are coming, new people are coming, inshallah. Inshallah, my humble words can be of some sort of benefit for you. Yesterday we talked about Izzah, we talked about what it means to be Aziz. We mentioned that it means you mustn't let yourself be overcome in any situation and that the Muslim is always higher than what is before him. There's a saying, I'm not sure whether it's a hadith, but there's a saying. It says, Al-Islamu ya'la wa la yu'la alayh. Islam dominates, and it is not dominated ever. And this doesn't just go for Islam as a religion, it goes for a Muslim as well. It goes for the Muslim. So, this links exactly with the concept of Izzah in Islam. That the Muslim, he does not let himself be overcome by whatever is before him. Any hardship, any enemy that comes before him. Remember, victory is of two kinds, as we mentioned yesterday. Victory is either victory in battle or victory in that is before you, over what is before you, or shahada. Two victories, either way, whatever you do, that will come to you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, don't be worried. At the end of the day, you're still, if you follow the path that was meant for you, you're going to come to me anyway. So essentially, being an Aziz means that this is your identity as a Muslim. Your identity as a Muslim. So when Imam Hussain alayhi salam says, Hayhat min al-Dillah, he's trying to tell you that because Dillah is far from us, this means you must be Aziz in your life. This means that being an Aziz, being somebody who is dignified, being somebody who cannot be overcome, it means that this is who you are truly. So when you claim to be a Shia, when you claim to be a Muslim, it means you must be one who does not give up under any circumstance. What does it mean to be a Shia? What does being a Shia mean? Does it mean, 10 nights a year I go to the Hussainiya and, do some matam and then I come home and then everything's good and I'm a Shia? Or is it something greater than that? What does being a mu'min mean? What does having taqwa mean? All these things, I know it gets overwhelming eventually. The amount of things you have to do. There's a whole checklist. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he mentions 6 characteristics in the hadith I mentioned at the beginning. First of all, he says, Shi'atuna ahlul wara. Our Shias are a people of wara and ijtihad. Wa ahlul wafa'i wa ahlul amana. The people of wafa and the people of amana. Wa ahlul zuhd wal ibadah. The people of zuhd and ibadah. You understand all those terms, right? I'm joking, I'm going to explain them inshallah. So, he mentions 6 characteristics. Wara', ijtihad, wafa, amana, zuhd and ibadah. Then he continues, أصحاب أحدى وخمسين ركعة في اليوم والليلة القائمون بالليل الصائمون بالنهار يزكون أموالهم ويحجون البيت ويجتنبون كل محرم. So he continues to mention, they perform 51 that's fine. They perform 51 rak'ah of prayer. And they stay up at night and they perform ibadah and they give zakat and they perform hajj and they do all of these things. They do not do their muharramat and so on and so forth. But all of these come under taqwa. All of these come under the first thing that Imam al-Sadiq mentions. So let's go through the 6. Inshallah, over the next few nights we'll go over these 6. The first thing he mentions as well is wara'. Might be a term that's new to you. I mentioned it yesterday as well. Wara' is a kind of taqwa that is intense. Taqwa, as we mentioned, is staying away from what's haram and doing what's wajib. Very simple. Simple in theory, not as simple in practice, but inshallah we'll get there. But wara' itself means staying away from any situation in which you could even go towards something haram or you could abandon something that's wajib. Putting yourself in any kind of position like that. One of our great shuhada, whose name I will not mention because I believe we're on YouTube. So one of our great shuhada, he mentions that if we were to understand what salah truly was, we wouldn't get happy when we would travel outside of our towns to pray qasr. If we truly understood the essence of salah. As I mentioned, the Shuhada are those brothers of the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi who we can look to emulate so that we can become like them in the future. So this is what the Shuhada are saying. It's to an extent where they don't even want to give up or to cede that time of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're trying their best to make sure that when they go on the front line, or when they even go to other places, they don't have to do qasr salah, or don't fast. Otherwise, some of us, we like to travel to other places so that we can break our fast, Ramadan, because it's so difficult to fast 16 hours a day. That's on one hand. And on the other hand, you had our soldiers in Syria, the defenders of the shrine, the ones who protected Sayyid Zainab's shrine, to an extent where they would take permission from Ayatollah Khamenei or the officers of the Maraja, so that they could fast while they were fighting in Ramadan. On one hand, you've got us running away from fasting when we're happy and comfortable in our houses, and on the other hand, we've got the warriors of Islam who are struggling to fast while fighting under the 50-degree heat. So it's a very, very stark contrast of what it means to be a mu'min and what it means to be Muslim. Being a Muslim is easy. Pray 5 times a day, you do some of these acts, read some du'as after namaz, so on and so forth. But being a true mu'min is something that is much more difficult. So wara is the first one, and it's the intense taqwa that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us, in that we make sure that everything we see is God. We make sure that wherever we go, we don't do anything that would be even close to haram. And the next one is, he mentions, is ijtihad, which means diligence. I know many of you have probably heard the word ijtihad. Ijtihad is in being a mujtahid. And the reason we call somebody who studies so long a mujtahid is because they have put in so much effort. You put in so much effort to reach that stage. So ijtihad means hard work. Wafa is loyalty, as many of you would know. It's mentioned in, I believe, Urdu as well, right? And then you have amana, trustworthiness. Zuhd, which is asceticism. You do not want anything from this world. And then you have ibadah, which is إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالصَّالِحَاتِ, right? So you have all of these 5 stages, right? You have wara, ijtihad, wafa, amana, zuhd, all leading to what? Ibadah, to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you in practice. So you have those characteristics within you, and then eventually once all those characteristics are done, and you have all those within you, you put them into practice. There's a story from Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu wa sallam alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil. We're going back to wara, of course. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says that if there was, I believe I mentioned this on one of the Fridays I came to the Imam Ali Center in Rochester. He says that, this is what true wara is, by the way. He says that if there was a well and within it dropped 1 drop of alcohol, just a single drop of alcohol, and then they buried that well, they filled it with soil to the top, and then a shepherd comes and he's bringing his herd of sheep, and they eat from that grass that had grown from that well, and then that one sheep that had eaten from that grass goes and mingles back with his herd. Herds at that time were big, 30, 40 sheep to almost 1,000 sheep sometimes. And that sheep goes back into that herd of sheep. He said, I wouldn't eat from a single one of those sheep, just in case that rijs and that filth enters my body. This is the Ahlul Bayt. This is the people we're trying to emulate. In fact, when my teacher, he mentioned this hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam, he began to cry about how beautiful Imam Ali alayhi salam's words are. And truly how lucky we are to have a master like Ali ibn Abi Talib, a master like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It says in the ayat of Tathir, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ وَلْيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
It mentions this in the ayah. What does it mention? That Allah wants to remove you from filth, right? What does He say? He wants to remove filth from you. يُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ. He wants to move filth away from you. The Ahlul Bayt were at a stage that when they would see filth, they would try and stay away from it as much as possible. So Allah is saying, I know who you are, Ahlul Bayt. I know who you are, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa I know who you are, Ya Fatima alayhi salam. I know who you are, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. I know who you are. I know that you would never go to it, but I myself am taking that away from you. It's not the other way around that they would go to us, that Allah has to take it away from them, or that He has to take them away from the filth. No, it's the other way around, that Allah is taking the filth away from them so that they wouldn't even get that chance. Not even that chance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will keep all kinds of filth away from them. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So we have to understand, brothers and sisters, that does it make sense to run before you can walk? You have a child, he's gonna start walking before he can crawl? Is he gonna start crawling before he can sit up? No. We have to build it. It's not something that can be gained overnight. So before we can reach the stage of wara, of staying and doing ihtiyat on every single little thing, just in case that it would be something haram, I don't think Islam is going to try and restrict all the fun in your life, which is unfortunately a very big mistake that we think. We sort of evaluate fun according to the criterion of what the non-Muslims tell us is fun. Unfortunately, the Imam and the Ahlul Bayt, they weren't some dry people who had no fun in their lives. If you read some of the stories of the Ahlul Bayt, you will see the beauty in how they would act and how they would have fun, and how they would talk to each other, and so on and so forth, the way they would joke. There's a time when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi was sitting with Amir al-Mu'mineen and some of the ashab, and Rasulullah was known to joke around. He wasn't like a dry person. And one time they were eating dates, for example. Some of you may have heard this story. They were eating dates, and Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was taking the date seeds out and they were putting it in front of themselves. And when Imam Ali wasn't looking, the Rasulullah took his date seeds and he put it, Imam Ali alayhi salam, Rasulullah put his date seeds in front of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And he says, wow, look at how many dates you've eaten. So many seeds. Ali ibn Abi Talib, what does he reply? He says, see, I'm hungry, but you're even hungrier that you even ate the date seeds. So it wasn't like the Imam were like some sort of dry people. They had fun, they had jokes, they would joke around with each other. There isn't anything wrong to joke around with each other. It isn't wrong to have fun. But does it mean that we should have fun in the way that the non-Muslims that is something un-Islamic? Of course not. We established that taqwa, we established that make sure we don't lie in a joke, and so on and so forth. So the first step is that we establish taqwa in our lives, that we stay away from what's haram and do what's halal. Right? And what is the prerequisite to doing what is right and staying away from what is wrong? It's knowing what's right and what's wrong, right? Ilm is very important in religion. Inshallah, we'll go over this in one of the future lectures. And learning what's right and wrong and how important it is. Unfortunately, what we do sometimes is we learn for the sake of something else. We use religion as a stepping stone for something. So we use knowledge as a stepping stone for something. We say that, okay, you know what, I'm going to go and learn medicine in order to become a doctor, to earn money. Knowledge has become this sort of tool for you to earn money, which it should never have been so. Knowledge was supposed to be gained for the sake of learning knowledge. If you look in the first chapter of the Holy Book Al-Kafi, it's all about knowledge and ignorance. Hadith upon hadith upon hadith about how important it is to learn. There are even a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam where he mentions that if I see a Shia youth who is not engaged in learning my religion, I myself will teach him. The Imam, to an extent where he's saying, I myself will go out and teach this person. What does Rasulullah say? He says, اطلب العلم من المهد إلى اللحد. Seek knowledge from the cradle until the grave. We should never leave this pursuit of knowledge, never get involved in the boring old rat race of going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, work, This isn't what we were made for. We were made for elevating our rank. And how do we elevate our rank? We gain knowledge. We learn about who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and through that we climb the rank slowly and slowly and slowly. We elevate our rank of being a Shia, we elevate our rank of taqwa, and eventually we reach the stage where we become the brother of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For those who weren't there yesterday, it's a hadith from Rasulullah where he mentions that, for example, he mentions that my brothers are those who will believe in me even though they haven't seen me. Which alhamdulillah, as far as we can hope, we are of those people. Please just say salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So taqwa means to do what he wants us to do and to refrain from what he doesn't want us to do. Simple, as simple as that. Now, the main thing is, brothers and sisters, that we do not fit religion into our lives. It's a very important thing. I know it sounds a bit strange. We try not to fit religion into our lives. We fit our lives into religion. It's a very unfortunate thing we see nowadays. It's like, okay, you know what? I've got my daily schedule. Okay, I'm going to work at this time. I'm going to sleep at this time. I'm going to make sure I wake up by this time in order to get to work at that time. And I'm going to leave work by this time to get home by this time. And, somewhere I'm just going to shove my Maghrib namaz in, I'm going to shove my Fajr in, somehow. Or you know what, Fajr isn't, if I wake up for Fajr, then I won't wake up for work. So you know what, I'll just pray Fajr Qadha. It doesn't work like that. You revolve your work, you revolve your lives around Islam. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects from you. There's a saying from the martyred president of Iran, Sayyid in 1981, he was martyred in a bomb blast. He says, don't tell your prayer you have work. Tell your work that it's time to pray. To an extent that they said that, one of the narrators, he says that I was sitting with Shahid Rajai and it was time for Salah. But at that time, he got an important phone call. So the food had come. His food had come and it was time to eat. So the person who brought the food, and he said, no, don't worry. He said, let's go pray and then inshallah afterwards. There's another story about the same Shaheed. That he was in the middle of a major conference in the parliament. Everyone was there. And he tells the people, he realizes it's Salah time. So he tells the people, he said, if I told you that I have an important phone call from one of the presidents of the world, major presidents of the world, would you allow me to leave and come back? And they said, of course, it's more important than whatever we're doing here. So he says, well, right now I'm getting a call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let me go and answer it, let us go and answer it together, and inshallah we'll come back. So please just say salawat for the soul of this great man. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is how we should be. One more story, because I like stories. There was a Shaheed named Shaheed Mohsin Hujaji, some might know him. He was beheaded in Syria in 2017, just like Imam Hussein alayhi salam. No comparison, of course. But he was beheaded in the same way that Imam Hussein was beheaded. Captive for 3 days, tortured to no extent, and then he was made Shaheed. But what made him reach the stage? There's actually a book in English about him I would recommend to read it. It's called With His Head Held High. It's available anywhere. As in many of the major Shia bookstores. He says that one day he was looking for a job and his friend said, okay, look, I work in a bakery. He said, you can come and work in the bakery. So before asking what salary there was, before asking what benefits you will get, health insurance, so on and so forth, what's the first thing he asks? He asks, will they let me pray on time? Your priority in life mustn't be this world, as I mentioned yesterday. Your priority must be the next. Because remember what Imam Hussein alayhi salam said, فَكَأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا لَمْ تَكُنْ وَكَأَنَّ الْآخِرَةَ لَمْ تَزَلْ. It's as if this world never existed. And it's as if the next world is all there was. So whatever we do must be towards that world. That must be the priority in everything we do. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And I'll finish this part of our discussion with a hadith from Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. He says, لا يشغلك رزق مضمون على عمل مفروض. He says it's sustenance and rizq that is guaranteed for you. Because if you don't know that, one of the things that is guaranteed for you at all times is that Allah will grant you the rizq you are meant to get. Again, I'm going to go into a segue with a story because, alhamdulillah, as I mentioned yesterday, we are so lucky to have these Ahlul Bayt with us. Is that Imam Ali alayhi salam, he went into the mosque to pray and he gave his horse to a man to look after. So he goes inside and the man, he steals the saddle of Imam Ali alayhi salam and he goes and sells it in the bazaar. He goes, takes it to the bazaar, he puts it up for sale. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, he comes out and he sees, okay, you know what, the horse is still there, but there's no saddle and no reins or nothing. So he gives 3 dinars to one of his companions and he says, go to the bazaar and buy me a saddle. He goes to the bazaar and he buys the same exact saddle of Ali ibn Abi Talib from that man who stole it. He comes back and he brings the saddle. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he sees, wait, this is the same exact saddle as I had before. So he says, if only that man had just waited, I would have given him 3 dinar for keeping my horse. So that risk was meant for that man. That risk was meant for the man. The thing is, it's up to you to decide whether you're going to get it in a halal manner or a haram manner. Whether you're going to get it in a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to have it, or whether you're going to get it in a way that He doesn't want you to have it. If you do what's right, Allah's not going to leave you out in the cold.
नाराए हैदरी नाराए खुशनुदी मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद बावाज़े बुलंद सलावत अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद वाले मुहम्मद.
So back to the hadith, he mentions sustenance that is guaranteed should not restrain you from the acts that are compulsory upon you. Don't think that, oh, just because I've gone and read salah, I've gone and prayed salah in my workplace on time because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted me to, that they're going to, fire me. Remember that everything's in the hands of God. It's not up to them. Your boss doesn't mean anything. Yeah, he's an authority over you, but as long as you do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to do, He will delay everything around you. One more story. Shaheed Ahmad Ali Nayiri, one of the great shuhada of the Holy Defense. Sayyid. And it had just become salah time, around 12 o'clock, say for example. And he had a pop test. Pop test. Many of you know what it is, right? It's a surprise test that the teacher springs upon you. So it was the end of break time, and salah time had happened. So Shaheed Ali Nayiri, he says, look, I want to go and pray to his friend. He says, I'm going to go and pray. And his friend says, look, if you don't come, you're going to get beaten by the teacher, because that's how it was at the time, yeah? You're going to get beaten by the teacher. And for many of you who, maybe, I don't know, grew up in Pakistan, I guess maybe it's like that there, I'm not sure. Don't crucify me for that one. But yeah, you're going to get beaten if you don't come back on time. So he says, look, who are here, or the young ones who are here, don't give yourself excuses, Hazrat Qasim was only 13, 14 years old himself as well. So he says, look, I'm going to go and do what I have to do, what my duty is, and the rest is of Allah. So his friend, he goes back into the classroom, and when he comes back, when Shaheed Nayiri comes back, he realizes the teacher's late. And a minute after he arrives in the classroom, his teacher arrives. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will delay everything for you if you delay everything for Him. Just remember that. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil. Now to have taqwa. to have taqwa is an interesting topic, brothers and sisters. Because taqwa doesn't mean just taqwa, doing what's right and wrong. Taqwa means having taqwa in all of your body. It means taqwa in your sight, taqwa in your hearing, taqwa in your speaking, taqwa in your desires. Inshallah, we'll get into that in the next few nights. Inshallah, today, I guess if there was a taqwa of the nose, I would mention it, but I don't know what sins you could do with your nose, but inshallah. Inshallah, we'll begin with the taqwa of the ears. There's a hadith from Imam al-Sajjad, he mentions it in Risalat al-Huquq. I would definitely... The treaties of rights. So it mentions the rights of everything around you, even to the extent the rights of your environment, the rights of your parents, the rights of people who are learning from you, the rights of the people who you are learning from, and so on and so forth. It teaches you it's a complete encyclopedia of how you should be with the things that are around you, and you will be in interaction with completely throughout your life. He mentions in it, وَأَمَّا حَقُّ السَّمْعِ فَتَنْزِيهُهُ عَنْ سِمَاعِ الْغِيبَةِ وَسَمَاعِهَا لَا يُحِلُّ السَّمَاعَ. He says the right of your ears is that you protect it from listening to ghiba, backbiting, and anything which is haram for you to listen to. So again, music and so on and so forth. Inshallah, if you want to know what things are haram to listen to, I'll say refer to your marja. Listen about what music is haram and halal. I'm not here to give an ahkam lesson, inshallah. Just refer to your maraja, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll discuss what ghiba means. What is ghiba? It's something that afflicts all of our communities. We do it every single day without even realizing, brothers and sisters. Now, what does ghiba mean, if anybody can tell me? I'm going to make this interactive. What does ghiba mean?
Criticism?
Criticism to an extent. Hypocrisy, maybe.
Talking about someone behind their backs.
Backbiting. So unfortunately, one thing that we think is that it means just mentioning someone's sins. So-and-so, I saw him, at the club. I saw him on his, doing so-and-so. Gosh. You have the aunties who are talking behind the back, right? Oh, I saw her with a boy and stuff like that, making problems. This is ghiba, brothers and sisters. Unless they're doing it out in the open, that's between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is satarul uyub. Allah is the one who covers the flaws. Unless you're doing it for the sake of Allah and you're saying, okay, you know what, I'm trying to make sure that he or she doesn't go down the wrong path. If you're doing it for that reason, then yeah, of course that's fine. But if you're doing it for the sake of causing problems, brothers and sisters, you are the problem, unfortunately. So, ghiba doesn't mean just mentioning the sins. Oh, I saw him drinking alcohol in the corner, but nobody could see him. Or I went to his house and I opened the fridge and I saw 3 cans of beer. It means even mentioning the bad points of him. Just the bad points, not even the sins. There's a hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi was sitting with his wife. He was with his wife and a woman passed by. And the Rasulullah's wife, he mentioned, oh, that woman's short. That's all. That woman's short. What did Rasulullah reply? He says, you've done ghiba. Just talking about anybody else. What's the need to talk about anybody else? What's the need to mention anything about anybody else? There's so many things to talk about, brothers and sisters, trust me. One day they say that the wife of Imam Khomeini, rahmatullah alayh, she was sitting and talking to one of her friends. And Imam Khomeini, he walked past and he heard that they were talking about somebody. And he said, don't do ghiba. Immediately he went inside and he said, don't do ghiba. And she said, we weren't even doing ghiba, we were just mentioning, so-and-so did this. And he said, make sure you keep it away from you as much as possible because of the damning effects of ghiba in your life. The damning effects. Brothers and sisters, there is a hadith from Rasulullah. He mentions that. Sallallahu alaihi He asked his companions, هل تدرون ما الغيبة? Do you know what ghiba is? And they said, Allah and His Prophet know better what ghiba is. Just saying, we don't know what it is. He says that it means mentioning something about your brother that he wouldn't want you to mention. Something that he's sensitive about. Even something that might not even be, considered taking the mick or mocking somebody. Something that's normal. He's short, he's tall, I don't know, his feet are too big, I don't know. Could be anything you're mentioning about him that he doesn't want you to mention. He's something he dislikes. And then they say, the companions ask, what if what I said about him was actually true? I'm not lying. Rasulullah says, if it's true, you've done ghiba. But if it isn't true, what have you done? Tuhma. You've slandered him. The best thing, brothers and sisters, is just to keep other people's names out of your mouth. It's the easiest way. As Imam Ali alayhi salam mentions in he mentions in saying number 461 in Nahj al-Balagha, he says, Al-ghibatu juhd al-ajiz. Backbiting is something that people who are incapable do. Is a mu'min ajiz? Is a mu'min incapable, or is he aziz? Is he somebody that has izzah? Somebody that is dignified? No, mu'min is not ajiz. It's not the work of somebody who is aziz. One of the reasons ghiba is so damning is because that you're not, when you commit any other sin, for example, I don't know, when you drink alcohol in private, or in any other sin, I can't really think off the top of my head right now. When you commit any other sin, you're only destroying haqqullah. You're disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's between you and God. When you are doing ghiba, you are breaking haqqul nas. It's between you, that person, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a sin with you and that person and Allah. So, when you look into the ahadith, we see it says kafaratul ikhtiyab an tastaghfira liman ikhtabta. The kafara and the compensation for you of doing ghiba is that you do not ask for forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're asking forgiveness from that person. One more story. One of the shuhada, he mentions that they were at a dinner party, and after the dinner party, they get in the car, and some of you might know this. The talks begin when you get in the car after the dinner party. Oh, did you see what she was wearing? Oh, can you believe they served that to us? We all know what it is. So his wife, she started to say, oh, you know what she told me, she did this, that, and that. And suddenly the shaheed, he turns the car around. He says, well, let's go back. She asks why. He says, you're going to go and ask her for forgiveness. You're going to go back there, you're going to tell her you did a ghiba, and you're going to ask forgiveness. And she starts to beg, she's like, no, please, my reputation is going to be ruined. He said, okay, well, that will serve as a lesson for you never to do that again. That much of a big sin, brothers and sisters. That much of a big sin. And don't forget that if you are a listener of ghiba, you're just as bad as the one who's doing it. Why? Because you sat there and you allowed it to happen. وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ سَمَعَتْ بِذَلِكَ فَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ. It says in Surah Ashura, may Allah curse the one who heard what happened to you and was happy about it. Amr bil Ma'ruf is a big thing in Islam. You can't just sit on the sideline and let it happen. Many of us, we like the tea, right? Spill the tea, brothers. Can't do that. It's not right in Islam. How do we say How do we tell them not to do it? It's pretty simple. Don't backbite. That's it. No, don't do ghibah. You can say it nicely. Shaheed Ibrahim Ismi, one of the Madafi'in of the Haram, one of the defenders of the shrine, this is his way. Whenever somebody would bring up another person in front of him, he would say, don't do ghibah. Even if the person just said, oh, you know that person, or you know so-and-so, immediately he would cut it off. He'd say, don't do ghibah. And the person would insist, no, I'm not trying to say anything, How do you know that person wouldn't dislike that? How do you know that person would like you to say that? Best thing is just to keep their names out of your mouth. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. La Risala. Ya Rasulullah. Kull iman nara.
So brothers and sisters, we observe the taqwa. We make sure we observe that taqwa so that we can become that Shia who is Aziz, like one of the most Aziz individuals of the land of Karbala. Though he may not have been in Karbala himself, he was the first martyr in the path of Karbala. And who is that, brothers and sisters? None other than Muslim ibn Aqil. Muslim was an interesting individual. Much injustice done to Muslim, that we don't discuss him much. Muslim was a faqih. He was an esteemed scholar. He was a mujtahid in Islam. He learned under Ali ibn Abi Talib, he learned under Hassan al-Mujtaba, he learned under Hussein ibn Ali, he learned under all of these, he studied under them. All of these great individuals. We hardly mention it though. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he sends him towards Kufa, what does he say? He says, I've sent towards you my close companion and my confidant, my thiqa, the person who I would confide in. Muslim was Aziz. When faced with the enemy, even though he knew he was outnumbered, he didn't fall back. He stood for what he knew was right. Ibn Ziyad is in front of him, he's cursing Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, na'udhu billah. He's cursing the Ahlul Bayt. Is Muslim just going to sit down? No. Muslim is an Aziz. Muslim is dignified. Muslim doesn't sit down when he's being challenged. He stands firm in front of Ibn Ziyad, even as a captive. Even in captivity, he's Aziz, and he says, no, you and your father are more worthy of being cursed. Can you imagine that? Somebody who has the power to kill you, yet you are standing in front of him and saying, no, you are the one who is deserving of being cursed. To see the absolute beauty of Muslim, let's look at this hadith of Rasulullah. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he goes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa and he asks him, do you love Aqil? Rasulullah, he replies, hey wallah, inni la aqibbuhu hubbain. He says, yes, indeed, by Allah, I love him 2 loves. He says, حُبًّا لَهُ وَحُبًّا لِحُبِّ أَبِي طَالِبِ لَهُ. He says, I love him for himself, I love him because he's a good person, and I love him because Abu Talib loved him. What does he say? He says, إِنَّ وَلَدَهُ لَمَقْتُولٌ فِي مَحَبَّةِ وَلَدِكَ فَتَدْمَعُ عَلَيْهِ عُيُونُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَتُصَلِّ عَلَيْهِ الْمَلَائِكَةِ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. He says, verily, Rasulullah, 50 years before the events of Karbala, he says, verily, his son shall be killed for the sake of your son's love. Muslim shall be killed for the sake of Hussein's love. And the eyes of the believers shall mourn over him, and the close angels shall send salutations upon him. And then Rasulullah, he begins to cry. Rasulullah, tears begin to fall from his eyes until they fall onto his chest. The tears are flowing down his cheeks to an extent where he cannot control his tears. And he says, oh Allah, I complain to you. I complain to you about what will happen to my family after. Assalamu alaikum ya ومختلف الملائكة وخزان العلم ومنتهى الحلم. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you, my beloved Holy Prophet and the Ahl al-Bayt. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you. It was in your home that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with guidance and revelation. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you. Angels descended upon you day in and day out, seeking permission before entering upon you. Brothers and sisters, imagine yourselves in Karbala. Imagine that you're standing before the Darih of Abdullah al-Hussein, and repeat with me, Sallallahu alayka ya Abdullah, Sallallahu alayka ya Mazlum, أيها الشهيد بأرض كربلاء. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you, my beloved Imam al-Hussein. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you, oh my oppressed Imam, the Imam who was slaughtered by the shores of the Euphrates, while your lips were dried from thirst. Imam al-Rada alayhi salam, he says to Rayyan ibn Shabir, he says, Ya ibn Shabir, in kunta bakiyan li shay'in فابكي للحسين فابكي للحسين فإنه ذبح كما يذبح الكبش. يا ابن شبيب, if you want to cry over anyone, then cry over Hussein, for verily he was killed like they killed the sheep. Sallallahu alayhi, sallallahu alayhi, sallallahu alayhi. Muslim is standing in the court of Ziyarah. His lips are bloody, he's wounded, his clothes are burned. He calls for water, they bring him the water. He brings the cup to his mouth, into the car. Again he asks for water. The same thing happens 2 times. And then what does he say? He says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We all belong to Allah, and to Him we return. Maybe this is the tradition of the Shuhada. They take Muslim to the top of the Dar al-Imara, the governor's palace. Muslim, he looks towards Mecca. He's just sent a letter to Abu Abdullah. Come towards Kufa. The people are ready. We will fight for you. What is going through the mind of Muslim ibn Aqil as he falls to the ground? Maybe he's thinking, Ya Abu Abdullah, my apologies. Right now they are sharpening their swords to strike Qasim. Right now Karbala is sharpening his arrows for Ali al-Asghar. At this moment, the evil man is looking for his best iron rod, Fabab al-Fadl al-Abbas. They're looking for the best spear. They're looking for the best lance to mount your head upon it. They take Muslim to the top of Dar al-Imara. He looks towards Medina. He gives his final salam to Rasulullah. He looks towards Mecca. And he says, Sallallahu alayka ya Abdullah. They strike his neck. The head of Muslim Aqil falls to the ground, and his body shortly follows. Amma la yawmaka yawmika ya Abdullah. There is no day like yours, Abu Abdullah, the day of Ashura. You lay your head on the sand. The acid mounts your chest. Your nephew Abdullah lies beheaded by your side. Who is there for you, Ya Abdullah? والشمر جالس على صدرك مولعا سيفه على نحرك. Shimmer is sitting on your chest, running his blade across your blessed throat. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Make दरबार में गई थी, कारी नमाजियों से महफिल सजी हुई थी। जालिम ये पूछता था गाजी तेरा कहाँ है, और बालों से मुँह छुपाए ज़ैनब ये कह रही थी, ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सर झुकाऊं कहाँ, ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सर झुकाऊं कहाँ, ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सर झुकाऊं कहाँ। मजमा-ए आम में बेवतन बेअमां आ गया कारवां, ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, कहाँ है मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सर झुकाऊं कहाँ। बाबा जान मैंने कहा मांगती रह गई, बाहों पर सज गए जीत जी मर गई, हल्का-ए शाम में दाम सुन कर मेरा मर गया नाता, ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, कहाँ है मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सर झुकाऊं कहाँ। हाथ कानों पे है, नील गालों पे है, और निशान जो सकीना के कानों पे है, और निशान से यही आ रही है सदा, बाबा जान ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, अरे बोले ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सर झुकाऊं कहाँ। हाथ कानों पे है, नील गालों पे है, और निशान जो सकीना के शानों पे है, हर निशान से यही आ रही है सदा, बाबा जान ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सारे बोले कहाँ है मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सर झुकाऊं कहाँ। ऐसा खुतबा दिया मैंने दरबार में, लिख रहा है जो यार बोलते प्यार में, हल्का-ए है तेरी हर अज़ान के लिए, ऐसा अज़ान ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सर झुकाऊं कहाँ, ऐ मेरे बाबा जान हो रही है अज़ान, सर झुकाऊं कहाँ। वो आबिदे बीमार था, वो आबिदे बीमार था, चलने से जो लाचार था, वो चलने से जो लाचार था, और शाम का पे इस्तिगासा है तेरा ममनून मेरी शहज़ादी